Interconnected from the adios pages, wisdom recorded for the ages. Understanding will be deeper in this message from keeper to keeper.
Prior to RIA's program of apprenticeship, the historical education of young adults was relatively simple. After the educational years for the younger individuals, young women would receive additional instruction from female relatives and later from their husband. For men, there was a more formal, expected pathway of education. At approximately 18 years of age, most young men would embark on their acolyte year, a period of both historical and religious instruction. During this time, some portion of each day would include lessons about the former leaders, including both the foundation story of Zacharias, as well as some of the more critical moments in Estolian history, with great emphasis on those two times of greatest peril, Apollyon and Patriciala, and the choices they made, and more critically, the conspiracies between Kavanaugh and William. The rest of their days are spent in service to the nation. Some take time to open and close doors, others tend to the horses. The service jobs are selected and curated, with the character and needs of each individual carefully considered. All acolytes are given the additional task of the restoration and preservation of the temple, cathedral, and palace. Only through diligent observation, repairs, and care have these structures maintained their integrity over the years. Nicodemus Luciano Zacharian, Capitulo 89.
Ricard waited for several heartbeats before he asked his son,
"Do you honor Samuel's memory?"
Always, father, always. He said that last morning.
Antonio stopped and swallowed heavily, as if he could barely continue.
He said as a joke that the nation was always safe, even if he had an accident, because I was more spiritual and would make a better keeper than he would. Then he died.
He knew, Antonio, that his time was short. Often it is the case. I have read about this many times. When the keeper's time is short, he knows, he acts on the knowledge. For whatever reason, he knew he was going to pass the responsibility to you and that you could take it on properly, loyally.
Antonio leaned back slightly in the chair. A succession of expressions passed over his face, the furrow between his brows easing as his gaze steadied. Ricard waited, allowing him to work through everything he'd learned. Antonio leaned forward, shoulders square, chin lifted, his voice confident.
Thomas and Kaiteros?
Yes, Kaiteros, when you become keeper, one of the first things you should do is read his Adeo.
Adeo?
Antonio frowned, and Ricard was proud of him in that moment. He could sense that his son was doing what any good keeper should do. He was searching within himself for that touch of guidance from deity, and in so doing, he was being given revelations.
An additional record?
Antonio's voice lifted, and Ricard saw the spark kindle, curiosity and hunger wrestling for precedence in his son's face.
Yes, Antonio, an additional record, limited readership, designed specifically for certain audiences. All who marry read the Adeo of marriage. All keepers read the Adeo of keeping. You will find great solace in Kaiteros' Adeo.
They were quiet for some time. The ornate clock behind his desk ticked loudly in the silence. A tap on the door preceded it opening. Several acolytes brought in refreshments, placing trays in front of both men before quietly leaving the office. Each tray had Maybury tea and a light meal.
What delayed your return?
Ricard asked after they had finished eating. He listened to Antonio's account of the mediation in Corlia. Hearing that there were twin white foals already destined for the royal stables gave him a feeling of satisfaction. Being half Corlian meant that they would be smaller than Andestolians, making them perfect steeds for the royal twins.
I got your message to come to the palace upon my return,
Antonio said.
But I had to get Lulu seen by the farrier.
A blush spread across his face when he added,
On that first day, Corbin's rig bred my Lulu and made her injury worse.
What did the farrier say?
Ricard asked. He could sense that deity had a hand in this sequence of events. He would have to meditate on their significance. The smile of relief over the minor guilt of allowing his injured mare to be bred on the day of her injury was reminiscent of the greater guilt Ricard could sense Antonio was finally letting go.
Cousin Travers said she would be fine. It was only a mild strain, and the rig is half Corleone, so he was not as heavy as a full Estolian would have been. My negligence will not cause her lasting harm.
Antonio's expression clouded once more, no doubt thinking back to the guilt he had carried with him over his perceived negligence when Samuel drowned. Antonio vowed,
Father, I will always honor Samuel's memory and serve with distinction, always.
That is what matters most, son,
Ricard said.
Do you feel better now?
Antonio nodded. He had a faint frown.
I am not even sure why it is that I was feeling it so deeply on this night.
When you and Samuel were born on the same night, I had a most extraordinary sense come over me, the weight of duty, responsibility, and most critically, my place in Estolia. I later researched the writings of other keepers. I learned there is something most profound that happens but once in the life of any keeper, the moment the next keeper is born.
The next keeper? But
Antonio looked sharply around the room and then said,
I heard that Charlotte was in labor when I got back, but it slipped my mind when I took Lulu to the farrier. After that, I came straight to the temple.
Ricard felt a deep faith in that moment, and a great pleasure to know how wondrous their guidance was. Deity watched out for Estolia in ways no other nation ever enjoyed. His son would be a most adroit keeper. In less than a year, he would take over the burden that Ricard had carried throughout his life. He would enjoy a healthier retirement than many men had, a time to enjoy his wife, and the freedom from responsibility. His Kaylee was looking forward to the time they would be free to be a solitary couple again, no longer burdened with keeping the soul of Estolia, and it was a job for the couple, not for any single man to take on. Antonio would learn when he joined with the vivacious and tempestuous beauty who had already spoken to his soul. He told his son about the events of the evening, the surgery, the twins, even the mix-up. He considered telling Antonio about the true birth order of the twin babes, but felt the caution from deity that it was critical for the twins to believe in the story as is. They did not need to know what he saw and did. They only needed to know that, as keeper, he followed the whisperings of the spirit when he selected the child to be labeled firstborn.
The star ascends.